Welcome everybody. Welcome to all of you lovely people. What we're going to be doing today is covering the emotion, the trait, the character trait of Hod. Because during the 7 weeks between Pesach and the giving of the Torah, we count the Sefiras. And every week we have a different theme, a different trait that we practice, that we refine, that we improve. And each day out of that week is a different theme. It's a compound emotion. In other words, let's say the overarching theme of the week is this week is Hod, which is, we're going to explain what that is. But then there is the daily practice that corresponds to that theme. And so let's speak about a little bit what Hod is, because it's a fascinating trait. In the seven habits of highly effective people, which follows the order of the seven, happens to follow the order of the seven spheres that have 7 traits. The fifth one is Hod, which is listen first to understand and then make yourself understood. So what do we see in that? We see that a person is in a state where they are giving space to truth. Listen first to understand means that I want to put myself aside and I want to find out what's true. Maybe the truth is with you, but I am not just being a pushover and just trying to understand you. I am then afterwards make yourself understood. In other words, I am going to communicate because maybe the truth lies with me. So it's really a trait of majesty that you want a king, a majestic king, to be sensitive to his people, unlike a tyrant. A tyrant is insecure in his position because he knows he's not really befitting the job. So he's a tyrant because he knows he doesn't really relate to the people. People don't like him. So he's not going to be there for very long. His reign can't last. That's a tyrant. But a majestic king is accepted by the people because the people recognize he understands them. He understands their plight. But they just don't want a guy that's a social worker. They need a leader. So he's also going to stand up for what's right. And that's where majesty comes in, that it's a connection to truth, which has that aspect of recognizing other people, but it also has that aspect of sticking up for what's the truth. So the common denominator of listen first to understand and then make yourself understood is it doesn't matter where the truth is, as long as we're looking for the truth. Now we're looking for a constructive. There could be a truth which destroys. We're speaking about a constructive truth. So how do we see that in the language of Hod? So Hod is a root word for the word moida, and moida could be used in different ways. Like moida could mean like moida ani lefanecha, I recognize, but ani modelacha in Hebrew said, well, I think you're right. You know, I agree to you. Ani modelacha, I'm putting myself aside. So Hod, toda means thank you. So there's thank you, there's recognizing the other person is right, but Hod is also majesty, that I am going to stick up and I'm going to stand strong for what's right. Now, I'm not necessarily going to succeed. I may not, it's not like a marketing strategy. I may not succeed, but I'm still going to stick with what's true. It's like more of the direction of Hod is more of an internal direction. I'm going to myself to a position of strength. Even if I won't succeed in convincing other people, that doesn't matter in Hod. What matters is that I'm congruent with what is right. I'm dedicated, Ibergeben, I'm dedicated to what is right, even if I don't understand. And that's another aspect of Hoid, even if I don't understand. So it's a fascinating emotion. But let's say we're going to really understand and relate to this emotion when we go through the Hayom, which the Hayom was written. The Hayom was written by the Rebbe, by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, in 1943 as a calendar with little sayings, little Torah sayings for each day. And it just happens, we noticed that when it comes to these weeks between Pesach and Shavuos, the theme that the Rebbe brings seems to be in line with the trait to practice and the intent to practice for that day. So, there's no, let's say, Ein Chacham Kabbalah Nisayon. There is no person wise as a person with experience. So we can speak about Hoid all day long, but it doesn't make us competent in it. But when we practice and study the compound emotions, that's where we're getting experience, and that's where we actually understand what it is through experience. Now, I'm going to share the screen, and we're going to look at the Hayom. Let's do it, share. Okay. So when sharing the screen, and let's look at the kindness of Hoid. In other words, the theme is the practice is kindness with the intent of connecting to the truth, recognizing the truth. So it says the Hayom is the theme of Pesach Sheni is that it's never too late. It is always possible to put things right, even when one is ritually impure, tameh, or one is far away, or even in the case of Lachem, when this impurity was deliberate, nonetheless he can correct it. So that's a gift. That's chesed. That's a gift of kindness, and we're recognizing that it's never too late. That's connecting to the truth. So the action would be that we encourage somebody else to, you can still do this. Even if you failed, get up, you can do this again. You will be successful. So I'm being kind to another person, but I'm also being real with them. So it's kind and real. That's what's so beautiful over here. Okay, let's do the next thing. Okay, the next one is, and by the way, again, you go to Chabad.org, daily study, you look up, you go to learning and values, daily study, you go to Hayom. That's how you can learn the Hayom every day. Now let's do the next one. So this next one will be Gvura, the Gvura of Hoid. So the behavior is Gvura. Let's see if we can see that theme in the Hayom. In the days of the Alter Rebbe, the Hasidim had a familiar saying: "The piece of bread that I have is yours just as it is mine." And they would say the words, "Yours first, yours just as it is mine." So it's about, so why would this be Gvura? Because if I'm, just giving of myself, I'm giving bread, I'm sharing, that's more kindness. But over here, we see Gvura, we see focused, is the person is overcoming their own tendency to, feed themselves first and see what they own as their own. Because really what we're given by God is like, it's his bank account. And even though there are laws of things being mine and it's important to recognize those laws, however, on the inner spiritual level, we need to understand that the reason why God has given me this wealth is in order for me to share it with others. So if I understand the truth of that, really, the first thing is that this bread is yours, right? And that takes inner focus, that takes strength, that takes gvura to be able to recognize. And what I'm doing is I'm recognizing the inner spiritual truth that it's yours, but I'm having the gvura saying that yours first, and then it is mine. I'm not saying what yours is mine. I'm saying what's mine is yours. That takes inner strength because I'm putting myself aside for the truth, for an inner truth, which is hide. Let's do the next one. Okay, so this one would be the balance. Now, a balance means a beautiful balance of both kindness and focus in a beautiful, balanced way. Tiferes. Okay, so after my father pared his nails, he would place a small piece of wood amongst them before burning them. You know, the significance of this is, if you cut your nails and leave them on the street, just where they fell, spiritually, if a pregnant woman walks on it, it could cause damage that she could lose the baby, God forbid. And therefore, regular people bury their nails. Definitely don't cut their nails in the street. They flush it down the toilet, that at least sweep it, But a chassid who goes beyond the letter of the law would burn it to make sure that I will never do something that's going to damage others. See, a chassid is very careful on not doing something that's going to put other people in danger. I'm not going to hurt other people. So a chassid is going to burn his nails to make sure no woman is ever going to possibly able to walk on them, that she's not going to lose her baby. So, I mean, I was thinking about this when there's medical things going around. It's important to do proper due diligence to make sure that your advice doesn't damage anybody. Just putting that aside, a chassid is going to do that. So so what's the idea? But what's the problem with burning something from your self that causes spiritual damage to the person? So I'm going to burn it and I'm willing to do spiritual damage, but he's saying that he would place a small piece of wood amongst them before burning them. And the reason for that is that if you burn something from your body, it would cause spiritual damage to your body. But there's a way to do things that it won't. And that is if you don't burn the nails alone. If you add a piece of wood to the nails when you're burning them, then spiritually burning your nails will not cause damage to yourself. So now this is beauty, because I'm recognizing the truth that I don't want to create a situation where I put a baby in danger. I'm not going to do that, even if it means I have to put myself into a spiritual peril. However, there's a way to do things that it's beautiful, that nobody gets hurt, that I don't get hurt either. So I'm going to add a piece of wood into it. So now let's go to the next part of the Hayimim. In terms of scholarship and aptitude, the chassid Reb Elia Abeler was a simple man. Once when he came into Yechidus, my grandfather said to him, now simplicity is connected to Hoid, because Hoid is a connection to the truth where you don't necessarily have a comprehension, but you know it's true. So we're speaking already about a simple man. It fits with the theme of Hoid, the theme of the week. Once when he came to Yechidus means when he, sat alone, where the Rebbe gives him undivided attention for what's his best interest. So my grandfather, who's the Rebbe, said to him, it seems like, was it Tzemach Tzedek? Okay. He said, Elia, I envy you. You travel to various fairs and you may meet many people. Sometimes in the middle of a business transaction, you get into a warm discussion about a Jewish saying, a saying from Ein Yaakov. Ein Yaakov is the stories of the Talmud. And it's sort of what people get when they learn the Daf Yomi Shir, and a little more. Yeah. And you arouse the other fellow's interest in studying Nigla. Talmud, halacha law, and Hasidus. This causes joy on high, and the Almighty rewards such trade with his blessings of children, health, and sustenance. The larger the fair, the more work there is, and the greater is the livelihood earned. So we're speaking about simplicity, authenticity, being real with people. We're speaking about doing it in a beautiful way, meeting many people, encouraging them in an appropriate way. We see a certain balance of lifestyle, a certain beauty in this behavior of Rebbe Elia, and this is encouraging for every person. Be real, and when you meet people at work, encourage them all. Look at each person where they're holding, and in which way you can encourage them to study the Talmud, study halacha, study the stories of Yaakov, to study Hasidus, whatever it is. Create a balance and a fusion of the work, the trade, together with the encouragement. And this is Tiferes. This is beautiful, and this is Shabbat. It's a lifestyle of being above, being real, of connecting to the truth. The next one is Netzach. Let's see if we see a theme of Netzach. Netzach is winning, of being victorious. Like in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's think, win, win. Okay, so Netzach. Okay, Tzidkascha is not said. Some recite the Shema in the morning before the services to fulfill the obligation of reciting the Shema in its proper time, the first 3 hours of the day. Whenever there's a change, people are vulnerable, and that's when we need to reaffirm the oneness. So early in the morning, when there's a change between night and day, so within 3 hours of that, we affirm the oneness in order to give us the strength and to receive the strength, the divine strength, to be able to be successful in this new day. The same thing at nighttime. There's a mitzvah to say, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one," as soon as it becomes night, in order to help us in this transformation. So they should repeat as usual in a non-communal Shema reading, the 3 words Ani Hashem Elokeichem, and conclude with the word Emet. So Emet at the end of the Shema is not part of the Shema, but it's added, and we Emet, it's truth. Truth is the midah of Hod. Truth is the midah of Tiferes, of beauty. That's true. But the practice of aligning with the truth, even if we don't understand, that's Hod. So when reciting the Shema in the Tefillin of Rabbeinu Tam or Shimushei Rabbah, the 3 words are not repeated, but one does conclude with the word Emet, truth. So again, we're emphasizing the alignment with the truth. But where do we see victory? We see victory in the fact is that when a person is vulnerable and there's a change that takes place, night becomes day, day becomes night. We say the Shema in order to be victorious over the new challenges of the day. And we align with the Emet, we align with the truth. We end off, basically we sign off the entire Shema with the word Emet, with truth. On Lag BaOmer. So that's the theme. So that's what we're saying. Being real over here, we are saying that what gives us the strength to win over our situation is the alignment with Emet, alignment with Hod, alignment with the truth, even if we don't understand. Let's go on. On Lag BaOmer, about 1844, the Tzemach Tzedek related this teaching of the Baal Shem Tov. It is written, "For you, Israel, shall be a land of desire, says the Lord of hosts. Just as the greatest scientists will never discover the limits of the enormous natural resources which the Almighty has sunk into the land, everything came from the earth. Neither will anyone ever find the limits of the great treasures which lie within Israel, God's land of desire." Baal Shem Tov concluded, I want to make Israel yield a kind of produce which the Almighty's land of desire is capable of yielding. So in other words, we're connecting with the truth. The truth is that the resources are unlimited. He says all the greatest scientists will never be able to understand, to discover the limits of the enormous natural resources. It's almost like the ground produces natural resources, like the ground produces water deep down, produces oil, and there's always more to be found. When we exhaust one source of natural gas and oil, you find another one. And there'll be even more. It's like as if like it's almost like the ground is going to be producing it. Then there's always going to be resources. There's no lack of resources. That's what it says over here. But so we're connecting with the truth, but the idea is to be victorious with that. Now he's using that as a metaphor that the Jewish people, the nation of priests that are responsible to be an example of for all the nations of the world and to be a light for all the nations of the world, they have resources. And he's saying the truth is we need to tap into those resources. Those resources are they're unlimited. It's called they're like a land of desire. They're like the ground that's going to have unlimited resources. That's the truth. The victory is that we recognize that and bring that yield out to be actually victorious, to reveal God in the world. So you have the resources. So think win-win. Create a win-win situation for everybody. Go to the next one. Hoid of Hoid. So Hoid means to recognize the truth. And we're recognizing something which is that is a recognition of the truth. In other words, it's the highest level of Übergegebenheit, nullification, that we don't understand. We don't know what we don't know what we don't understand, but we know that's the right thing. So Lag BaOmer was one of the Mittel Rebbe's praise. It was Lag BaOmer's Hoid Shebahoid. So Lag BaOmer is one of the Mittel Rebbe's particularly noteworthy festivals. He and the Hasidim would go out to the fields that day, and although he did not wash and break bread, he did partake of mashka, strong drink, which he was not allowed to have for health reasons. So, but Lag BaOmer doesn't matter because he's nullified to something greater. Many wonders were seen at that day. Most of them involved the blessing of children for childless couples. And all year long, people waited for Lag BaOmer. So this is the idea of nullification, the idea of blessing of children. And where does that blessing come from? That comes from something higher than our understanding. It comes from a dedication to the Rebbe, the Mittel Rebbe, which we study a lot. The Mittel Rebbe was a Gilgal of Reb Hamnuna Saba, and Reb Hamnuna Saba, together with the Rashbi, were a Gilgal of Moshe Rabbeinu. So it turns out spiritually, the Mittel Rebbe is connected with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who wrote the Holy Zohar in his festival day, where the greatest revelations of his life were achieved on Lag BaOmer. The revelations, it's like the giving of the inner aspects of the Torah is given on Lag BaOmer as a preparation for the actual giving of the Torah. So Mittel Rebbe, that's his festival. His festival spiritually is Lag BaOmer. And the rules of nature don't apply. In other words, he would drink strong drink, even though he wasn't allowed to drink. And what happened? Something beyond our understanding, the blessing for children, for childless couples, things that are scientifically impossible would happen. Hoid Shebahoid. Let's go to the next one. Yesod, do we see attachment, a healthy attachment? Chassidus is divine intelligence and understanding which shows man how small he is and how great he can become. So that's do you see the theme of truth, of being real? Yeah. So understanding how small a person is and how great he can become. That's true. But how do we attach to that? Chassidus. So we have a vehicle, a bridge of attachment, Chassidus. Chassidus is a divine intelligence where we can attach to the truth. We can actually be shown how small man is and how great he can become. Isn't that amazing? Okay, let's see the Malchus. Malchus is a king. It's leadership. Can leadership be real? Politics, right? It's semantics and layers of lies, but can leadership be real? But let's read. There is no one for whom to pride oneself. We must toil strenuously. With patience and friendliness, we can prevail all things with God's help. With our denigrating attitude towards others and inflating of our own importance, we lose everything, God forbid. There is no one for whom to pride oneself. Okay, we must toil strenuously. So this is a leader. We have to work hard. We have to have patience. We have to have friendliness. We have to know we're going to prevail. That's leadership.
Rabbi Chirik, this in the translation that someone sent me today from Chayenu, he was asking me this question. He says, there is no one to pamper. They translate this as there is no one to pamper us.
Iber nemen zich.
It says here, what they're publishing in Chayenu, we have no one to pamper us. We must labor. So the question that was posed to me, what's pamper and what's labor? Maybe you can contrast it to the translation that you're showing on the screen.
I don't know. I see Haravan. Haravan is hard work. You have to be persevere.
Well, that's the labor part. But what about the previous part? It says they're translating here as priding, and the other ones translating as laboring, pampering. I'm sorry.
Well, let's see. I don't know if Google Translate is so good. Translate. One second. I don't like this. One second. Okay, one second. I don't know. Iber nemen is over names. I'm not an expert in Yiddish. One second. To take over. Okay, so the word Iber is over, Nemen is to take. So so we're having a translation, pride oneself. We have another translation, pamper. I read the word Ibernemen to take over. Zich. I don't know what that expression is, but what it seems to me is that, like, I am expecting somebody else to do the work for me, Ibernemen, to take over, for myself. And I was saying, no, you if you're a leader, you got to work hard. You can't expect that somebody else is going to do your work for you. With patience and friendliness, we can prevail all things. Now, I would like to ask somebody that comes from a culture of speaking Yiddish, what Ibernemen exactly, how is that used as a form of speech? But this is what I think it means. Now, now with a denigrating attitude towards others and inflating one's own importance, we lose everything. So that's what Malchus is, that Malchus as a leader, we don't inflate our own importance. Malchus is bittul. Malchus has this aspect of hoid, of being given over to something, being nullified. So I'm not inflating my own importance. And I'm a leader of other people. So I don't have a denigration of other people because they're important to me. So if we recognize the truth of leadership, we will be successful. If we don't recognize the truth of leadership, then the leadership will be lost. And that's what I think we're saying over here. And now we're going to start off. We're just going to do one more because it's already moving to tonight. And is every person must know that God, through his individual providence, gives each person the ability to bring God's supernal will from the potential state to the actual. This is done through fulfilling the mitzvahs and strengthening Judaism and our holy Torah at all times in every place. All depends solely upon one's avodah. So it will be kindness of attachment. Every person must know God, that God, with his individual providence, gives each person the ability. So that's kindness, to bring God's supernal will from potential state into actual. That's kindness. And the mode of attachment, this is done through fulfilling the mitzvahs and strengthening Judaism and our holy Torah at all times and all places. All depends solely on one's avodah. So there is a vehicle of attachment, the goal, and there's kindness that God is giving us to be able to express and fulfill that attachment. That's what I'm seeing over here in this Hayom Yom, and that's going to be, for now, that's going to be it. Let me just stop the share screen. Okay, so I hope that it was insightful. Any questions? Anybody has any questions for this whole week of themes that we've gone through of Hod?
So my question is, how is a person supposed to apply this? So, and then to what degree? I mean, you're giving us great examples. Hopefully next year this will come up before the week. Obviously, just because the week has passed and the sphere of Hod has passed doesn't mean we can't work on the things that you're talking about. These lessons are eternal and apply every day. It's just something a person can continually improve in. But what would you say to a person? How does he now, even if a person was to have this the day before or the day of this, what is he supposed to do? Just reflect on this for 3 minutes and say, okay,
there's something for sure. Interpersonal friction comes up, like for like the Malchus of Hod, and it's telling you, no, don't lift yourself up, don't have this attitude of inflated attitude, don't put them down. Instead, toil, be patient and friendly with the people, even though you feel like being angry and they attacked my pride. No, be patient and friendly. That's what like that one says. And I'm sure this comes up all the time. It comes up at work. It comes up when inspiring other people. It comes up with family that you are, we're responsible to be a leader for. Then there's another one of you sort of attaching to the truth of what oneself is. So study Hasidus. Why? To find out how small you are and how great you can become. So this is truth, because if a person only thinks they're small, it's a big problem. If they think that they're great, that's grandiose. It's unhealthy. How do you balance an attachment to oneself? Study Hasidus to create an attachment to both of these ideas. So the goal over there is to study Hasidus with that intent in mind. The next one is Lag BaOmer. Recognize the blessing of children, how great it is and how it comes from beyond, and use the moments. So that's another lesson over here. When you have holy times in the year, we have times which are special. Use that moment and connect to the blessings, even though you don't understand. Like if the Rebbe says, check your mezuzahs, check your mezuzahs. If that's what you have to do, just do it. Check your tefillin, just do it. Just put on tefillin, whatever is what you're supposed to do, just go beyond, way beyond, just get it done. I would say that's the lesson.
So you're going to the lesson, but the question is, how does a person implement this? Is you say it like you're saying, okay, you see the lesson, okay, now I have a different mindset towards how I'm going to deal with other people, or how I'm going to see the importance of the children, and listening to the Rebbe and so forth. This is that just walking that day. Is there a particular avodah? Should he write about it? Do a workbook? I mean, what is your suggestion?
So you could do it later. What I'm suggesting is that it's going to come up that day. You're going to have something that's going to come up, and you're going to make a left or right decision. Which way do I go on this? And you're going to remember the Hayom. I'm going to say, the Hayom told me to go right, and I'm not going to go left, because naturally I'm going to go left. I am not going to go left. I'm going to go right. For example, for the other one, for the limits, there's unlimited resources in the ground. So
Incredible.
Something's going to come up where that day where you're going to be thinking limits. So you have a choice. Do I give in to thinking that we have limits, or am I going to recognize that we have unlimited resources and plow through?
That's such an incredible lesson. If we were only able to get this message out. I mean, Hayom is saying the exact point about the God of abundance, and meanwhile, people are spreading around the world the cult of scarcity, and we need to get the message out there. No, there's a God of abundance, and He's built the earth itself to have unlimited resources. Anyone that comes along and says we're running out of something is clearly speaking out against God and against the Torah.
So that also can help you in conveying this, because it's the midah of netzach shebahoid. So recognizing the truth and winning with that attitude of truth.
So it's not just the information, it's the ability to persevere to get that message across to the world.
Yes. So netzach is definitely a expansive, winning type of let's get everybody to know about this, and let's get everybody to let everybody else to know about this. So it's like speak to 10 people, tell them this message, because netzach, you have to be marketing. It's not netzach, we're just like speaking to ourselves and we're satisfied to have a few students. That's not netzach. Netzach is we're empowering people to let that message be known of unlimited resources, and it's not just it's unlimited resources in the ground. It's just a metaphor for unlimited human resources. In other words, humans are bad, and that's why we need to become transhuman, right? We need to fuse with computers. No. Humans have unlimited resources, just like the ground has unlimited resources. In other words, this idea of...
he says it human, just like that. He makes a human comparison, right?
Right. So that's the main one. So it's climate scarcity, which they know is not based on actual data, but it's just It's just a farce, right? But what they're really concerned about is the human scarcity. That's why we need to fuse with computers. So the real lesson of Netzach Shebahod is recognize the truth that the humans have unlimited potential. You won't even be able to reach the bottom of human potential. You don't need to fuse with computers to reach, because there's always going to be endless human potential if you dig into the human.
Wow, that's exquisite.
Then going back into Tiferes is nowadays, people are in their, they're very much into connecting to people on WhatsApp and appreciate human connection, not only on WhatsApp, which is through text, but actually meet people and encourage them and smile and encourage them to do a good act to study Nigla, Hasidus, Halacha, stories of tzaddikim. That is beautiful. When people have beautiful interactions with other human beings of encouragement, that's Tiferes Shebahod. He's telling us how to live a real life in the week of Hod. How to connect with yourself through study Hasidus, how to connect with other people, how to see the potential in others, how to deal with conflict with others. That's Malchus, right? That was the last one, Malchus. How to be a leader, right? A leader for others, even when there's conflict. What was the previous one? Gvura. Oh, Gvura was resources. How do you see resources? It's yours as it is mine.
And that's just saying that yours, it's as it's mine. It's two ways to see that. If you see the world has unlimited resources, then I could share that. But even if you're temporarily in a limited perspective in Gevura, you're not seeing maybe the whole picture, you still will stretch to share with the other person. When you're thinking that this is the last thing, or this is the only thing, you still will give it to share with somebody else and say, not only is it share with you, but say, this is yours.
Yeah. To share would be, it's not it yet. That's not the truth. The truth is the only reason why you have extra is to be able to give to the other person.
Right.
So, I mean, this is like for the prepper community, where they're prepping to be able to be safe and to that, it's nice to know those skills and to have extra food. That's in line with Torah, especially prepping for 1 year of food. That is in line with Torah. But how about thinking that I need to have for others and I need to have for others first? That sort of attitude. I think that's much more of a winning and more of a real attitude. I need to have for others. I need to have for others first.
Mm-hmm.
That if there would be a hurricane in Florida and I'm a prepper and there's displaced people, I have food and things for others first. I don't just have for my family. I'm able to help other people, and that's number one. It's a different attitude.
Right, as a different attitude also to even go beyond that and to say, well, okay, even though a person is making preparations, but they allow for the possibility that God will have a different outcome, and that the abundance will surface, and the plans of those who try to create the scarcity will be defeated by God revealing some abundance that completely thwarts the fear. We see in the Torah the story with the siege and the famines and so forth, and the prices skyrocketing, and everyone would have, of course, predicted. In fact, to say that the prices were going to drop the next day and there would be an abundance of food was considered absurd by some, and they laughed even at the prophet saying that. So who was right in the end? Well, the prophet was right, because the prophet saw that the God Almighty is running the world in an infinite context that has an infinite new creation, from new possibilities at the next moment. And what's impossible is entirely possible.
So what he's aligning himself with the truth when he's saying it's yours, it's mine. It's really aligning himself with the truth of that abundance, because and it takes inner fortitude to connect to that, because that's not the natural tendency. Natural tendency is, that I'm having my food and it's prepared, and I've taken care of myself, and I'm going to give you extra. This is not the attitude over here.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Chirik.
Okay, so that's it. Oh, and of course, the first one was there's always another chance. To always look at the situation. To give up, right, is a problem. The chesed, the kindness of connected to truth, is not to give up. There's always another chance. If you haven't done it so far, you can still do it. You can take on all these. There will be the opportunity to take on all these traits.
Even as to these, right? Even if I haven't been loving and compassionate and so forth, and listening to others and listening to the truth that others are expressing, I have a second chance right now to do that, and a third chance if I missed the second chance.
And even if you did on purpose, did the wrong thing, you still have another chance. You can still align yourself with, because that's the truth. The truth is, it's always accessible to align with these principles of living for real. And
I saw the Rebbe said in a Sikha, so incredible. He says that this goes to the extent that Rabbi Akiva, who had 24,000 Talmidim, 24,000 great scholars, were his students. They were sages themselves, and they perished. Nevertheless, Rabbi Akiva picked up and he continued to teach the 5 students that he had remaining. So that puts it in a new perspective. He says, even though Rabbi Akiva failed 24,000 times, it's not just that he failed in his first iteration of his yeshiva, and then they all passed away because they didn't get the message correctly, didn't implement it correctly, and then he was left with 5. So it was just 2 tries. So it was 24,000 attempts. He tried with each one of those 24,000 students to get the message across, and he failed. And after 24,000 attempts, he continued with the 24,001 attempt. So that is saying that's the extent to which, no matter how many times we failed at what we are attempting to do, we don't give up, even to 24,000 plus times of failure of attempt. So that's so powerful. That's way beyond even the second. You have a second chance. You just keep going and doing the right thing, and that's the lesson of Rabbi Akiva.
Yeah. Okay, so that's this week.
Okay, beautiful.